Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi, and the final episode of My Mom's Basement of 2023. It is Robbie and Clem, as always, and we are here to break down, discuss, and look back at X2. Last week we did X-Men. The first one came out in 2000, and we said next week maybe we'll do X2, maybe we'll do something else, maybe we'll do a mailbag or a year-end show, something like that. And the comments said, no. You don't blue ball us like that. You do X-Men, that means you're doing X2 next. So we're doing X2 today, Clem.
You get off your ass and you review that fucking movies. We're more than happy to. Spoiler alert, no matter what you guys think of the X2 review, there will not be an X3 review next week because I saw everybody's basically off of the company. Usually they still throw some podcasts in there. Maybe a couple blogs will go up, anything goes crazy. But the basement lights will be off for a week. This is... maybe all for good. We didn't get to 50K as of right now. We have a week and a half left. Man, it hurts. And listen, to everyone who subscribed, listening to this, thank you from the bottom of hearts. To everyone who didn't subscribe, what the fuck, guys?
What's going on, man?
Friends. I thought
trying to keep these lights on. Yeah. Next week is the first week we're taking off in forever. It feels like Monday Night Raw, like they never miss a week. We usually never miss a week either. But there's a lot of traveling going on with the holidays. So I just didn't know if I would be able to squeeze an episode out. But hopefully this week, next week. Also, I did a lot of interviews this year. I kind of put them all in one timeline because I was making myself a little video, a highlight video. I did 18 hours worth of interviews this year. So if you're looking for some extra content, a lot of that stuff is evergreen. Music interviews, actor interviews, musician interview, whatever it is. Go back, check out some of those interviews. A lot of evergreen content. Also, we've done a lot of movie commentary tracks. So if you're looking to watch a movie like you've never watched it before, I'm going to tweet out a graphic and you'll be able to go back, look at all the episodes and watch the commentaries with our commentary.
You're gonna have to put that on like the poster for movies like you've never watched before. You guys just, hey, listen, the Christmas break. You might not even have a Christmas break. If there's just the week between Christmas and New Year's that you wanna just have something on, especially the Robbie interviews too, just good vibes, good mojo in the air. If you just need to, cleanse the air, maybe your family's like the Bear family, and like your Christmas is absolutely a fucking pressure cooker. Just throw the Basement Boys on in somewhere. As long as you subscribe to the YouTube, you're allowed to do that. If you didn't, you're not allowed to do it. I take back all my kind words to you.
That's right. So let's get into X2. There's a lot to talk about on this movie. I got to say, it is one of my favorite comic book movies ever. It was at the time, and even rewatching it today, I rewatched it today as we're doing this, it really holds up. I was just so happy about it, so nostalgic about it. The slogan, the tagline is, "The time has come for those who are different to stand united." Great tagline. Tells you what you need to know about the movie. The villains are teaming up with the heroes and everything. Once again, directed by Bryan Singer. Boo.
Boo.
Written by Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris this time. So last time it was written by Solid Snake, David Hayter. He is heavily involved in the storyboard writing of this movie as well, but he didn't pen the actual screenplay. Released May 2nd, 2003. It's got 2-hour, 13-minute runtime. And since the first one was such a success, they gave him an extra $50 million in the budget of this one. 125 mil, double that for marketing, about 250 million. And then the gross was 407 million. So once again, big success for 20th Century Fox and Marvel. The collaboration there did 85.6 million on opening weekend. There was budget cuts though. So it had that huge budget, but it did have budget cuts. They had to cut Sentinels and the Danger Room out of this movie. Also Beast. Beast has that little, you see like a television debate where they throw out the Hank McCoy name. That was supposed to be a full-fledged role that they couldn't do once again.
That the full breadth of the movie. Listen to these fucking words here that I'm using. Breadth.
Ebert over here.
They were ambitious. They got everything from this movie in. Plus, they had Sentinels, Danger Room, the Beast, obviously changing over. Dark Phoenix potentially. Obviously you get teased, or kind of just get a glimpse of her, or whatever you want to call it. That's a lot of shit that they were trying to bite off and chew. So tip of the cap to all that. It's also probably they're like, shit, if this one doesn't do well, this might be the last one. So let's get in as much as we can and just shove it all in. The budget going up. I do remember X-Men coming out, being well, as again, the old man, I remember this when it was in the theaters, being like, all right, that was good, and it feels like we have something going here. X2, it's like, all right, we're printing money now, and we're just going to keep pumping these motherfuckers out and making straight cash, homie. Do you know who said straight cash, homie, Bob? Do you know this?
No.
It's an old Randy Moss line. He got.
Oh, is it?
Did you ever see the clip? This will be our sports segment of the Week in the Basement. Did you ever see the clip where he fake mooned the crowd and Joe Buck goes, "That's a disgusting act." So he got fined for that. And they asked him, they said, "Hey, Randy, how do you pay that fine?" And they said, "You have a check or something?" He goes, "When you're rich, you don't write checks." And they go, "Well, how do you pay him?" He goes, "Straight cash, homie." And it's just, that's the name. That's been the name of my fantasy football team for 20 years running in my league with my buddies. The straight cash, homie. Just one of the more hilarious, just fucking lines of all time.
I haven't played fantasy in years, but when I did, my name was always Star Wars themed. It was Robbie's Rebels, and I would have my logo of a football helmet that looked like a Rebel pilot helmet.
That's a beautiful thing right there. That is Robbie to a fucking T. I love you.
The goal was to make X2 the Empire Strikes Back of the X-Men. They said that outright. They said the characters are all split apart and then dissected. Revelations occur that are significant, and then the romance comes to fruition, and a lot of things happen. So they kind of looked at that and said, how do we make a darker sequel that has all of these things, that separates our characters and everything? They kind of nailed it. Singer, though, wanted to do Dark Phoenix right here. He initially just thought, let's follow up X-Men with the Dark Phoenix saga. And one of their writers, Zach Penn, convinced him not to do it. He said, let's not go cosmic yet, because once you go cosmic, it's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. So Zach Penn and David Hayter each wrote their own script. They went off and wrote 2 separate scripts. They came together, combined the best aspects of them together. And then the other guy came over and wrote like the final official screenplay. Zach Penn also did, listen to this resume: Inspector Gadget, Last Action Hero, Elektra, X-Men 3, the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk, did the story for the first Avengers movie. Then he also did Ready Player One and Free Guy after that. So he's got a pretty damn good resume to his name.
Yeah, impressive, wide array of topics and kind of movies, success and otherwise. All right, that's a good fun fact right there on that guy as well.
Just to have X2 and the Avengers both on your resume, and it's like, oh shit. And then you go and work with Spielberg on Ready Player One. Great movie.
I have to say, I think Dark Phoenix, I think they could have even waited even longer if they wanted to on it, to really, like, again, going cosmic, but also just really playing up the Jean Grey slow descent or whatever into that, and having, because then once she's changed, I think they could have waited even longer, but that's, another story for another time. A couple other things I had here. Toad and Sabretooth were supposed to return.
Toad was going to have a fight with Nightcrawler.
Yep, he was going to be like brainwashed and fight Nightcrawler. Thank God they didn't do that, because I think they were our LVPs for the last movie, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, our boy Shaq wanted to be in this movie as well. He was putting on a full court press, little sports reference for you guys there. That would have been. Shaq is almost too famous, especially at that time, to be like a character. He'd almost have to just be Shaq and be like, oh, there's mutants that people don't know are mutants, even though they seem like, and then just Shaq just dunking over 7 guys.
And then he gets the Mystique guys on the court or something.
And the last fun fact I had here for this part of it, in terms of like casting and like what could have been, apparently Neil Patrick Harris tried out for Nightcrawler. That is bananas. Doogie Howser, or I guess to a generation he's Doogie Howser. Then to another generation he's Barney Stinson. Yeah. And then he's just NPH now to a bunch of
people.
And
then to some people he's just the guy that gets his throat slit in Gone Girl.
Oh, I've never seen Gone Girl.
Spoilers for that.
Wait, I have seen Gone Girl. Is that the Ben Affleck one? I saw. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of what's that Bob? Shoot.
Oh, Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone. Yeah, I've never seen that.
That's a really good movie. You should add that to your list. I like that movie.
Is Neil Patrick Harris in that?
I don't think he is. No.
Does he get his throat slashed?
Then you're out. You're like, no NPH, no me. As far as other castings like that, Hugh Jackman's stunt double was apparently like a real good looking guy. Go figure. Fucking the guy that looks like Hugh Jackman's good looking. And the director, Bryan Singer, was like, you could play fucking Gambit. So they threw Gambit in the movie and they cut him from the scene. So Gambit's name still appears on Stryker's computer at one point, but no Gambit in the movie. And as far as I know, no pictures or no deleted scenes, photoshops. I've seen nothing of James Bamford, the stunt double, playing Gambit.
Gambit is one of those guys that does give you like the feels, and the cartoon character is a big part of that. I feel like a lot of people, they nailed the voice of him and just his overall vibe. And in the comics, he's great too. But Gambit in general, that was kind of one of those: are we going to get him, not get him? And it was kind of, you were just going in. And I kind of remember like the internet was around. There might have been some message boards, but like stuff you'd see on TV, it'd be like whispers about this person being in, that person being in the movies. But like, you didn't just have like 1,000 YouTubes giving you the Easter eggs and seeing everything. The fucking screen you talk about, the list of characters that they like. Do you have a list of any of the people that they kind of mentioned there? So Gambit, they have Remy LeBeau. They have like, Magneto's name on. They have all the different XMen. There's it says Maximoff, and it has 2 like Wanda and our boy Pietro. No, Ralph Boner. I'm not, from what I can gather. Lord. And then they have like different people in the X-Men and stuff like that. So you see their names kind of in the computer. I think they have Nathaniel Essex too with Mr. Sinister. So there's a fucking treasure trove of fun little, like, if you pause it or you just kind of look it up or whatever, I'm sure there's probably been a ton of Easter eggs about it on YouTube or something like that. People who have over 50,000 probably have a full widespread breakdown of it all, but we can't do it because we don't have 50,000 yet.
Tell you what, though, we're beating a lot of people to the punch with an X2 breakdown, because I looked up an X2 breakdown just to get things, in our mind, in our system. And I know we're 20 years late, but we have beat a lot of people to the punch.
All right, there we go. This is how we're going to conquer the algorithm. We're going to do the 20. We're going to be everyone to the punch of the 20-plus-year-old movies. All right.
Yeah. Next week we're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. We're going through 2003's best hits.
If this isn't the fucking Barstool difference, I don't know what is. All right.
Yeah.
Also, we got to shout out another movie podcast here, Lights Camera Barstool. They're kind of changing formats, it sounds like. Excited to see them. We had some good rewatches with them. Check those out.
Great ones.
Remember that was during the pandemic?
They'll be on our graphic when we put out the commentaries. Some of them we uploaded as our own podcast feed thing. So Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a couple like that we did with them. Alex Sulkin, David Goodman from Family Guy. Really funny commentaries, I think, and informative. Like, I especially remember the Raiders of the Lost Ark one. David Goodman knew more about that movie than I know about anything, and he just rattled off fun facts the whole time that were awesome. This movie, though, X2, is mostly based on an arc from 1982 called X-Men God Loves, Man Kills, written by Chris Claremont and illustrated by Brent Anderson. The similarities between the comic arc and the movie: Stryker's the main villain. Magneto teams up with the X-Men. Xavier gets kidnapped and used with Cerebro to try to kill all mutants. The difference is Stryker doesn't work for the military in the comics. He's a minister, which is interesting. He killed his firstborn son when he discovered he was a mutant. Didn't keep him around. Jason 143, I think it was. He's not responsible for Wolverine in the comic. So that origin story with Wolverine and him, which I think is a pretty strong part of this movie, was made up on the spot by these writers. And the comic is post Dark Phoenix. So there's no Jean Grey in it. She's already gone. Magneto also never does the heel turn in the comic, just escapes with the X-Men at the end. The score here is by John Ottman. He does some really cool stuff with this score. He incorporates Mozart in Nightcrawler's theme, with the German connection between the two of them and stuff like that. So let's get into the movie. That's enough on the preamble.
I got one more thing here.
Yeah.
Only just one more. This was ranked the #1 comic book movie by Wizard Magazine.
Wow. And Wizards for real.
When I saw that, dude, I forgot about Wizard Magazine.
Yeah.
And I had to look it up because I was like, shit, would Robbie even know what Wizard is? And RIP in peace, it is gone, but it died in January 2011. So it was alive when Robbie was alive. And I'll tell you, man, for the people who don't know, Wizard was basically, it was a lot of comic stuff, yada, yada. And then you also could look up, if you had comic books, it would be like a pricing guide, which then, as a sports fan, I also had Beckett, which was another, like, I'm going through just all like teenage and preteen Clem just buying comic books and baseball cards that are worth not even the paper they're printed on these days, but you're living the dream. You're fucking thinking you're going to become rich. And man, just seeing Wizard brought me all the way back, dude. It fucking, those two in Game Pro are like my three,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and there was another one too, Electronic Gaming
Game
Monthly.
Informer I had that I loved, which that might be more my generation. Did you have Game Informer?
No, but that my brother, I think, had that. He's a little younger, so
That like
he's
came with your GameStop subscription. If you did like the yearly
yes,
membership or
I know what you're
whatever,
talking
you would
about.
get that. I had one issue of Wizard specifically that I think about sometimes that I want to go on eBay and actually like buy myself this copy again. It's from 2009 when Watchmen first came out, and it had Rorschach on the cover. And I remember I thought this was the coolest cover of Wizard, so I would like just draw it all the time, colored pencils, crayons, fucking just trying to draw myself Rorschach, which I was 11 years old at the time. Way too young to understand what Watchmen was actually about or what it was, satirical or satirizing. Is that a word? Satirizing?
I don't even know what satire means. They like, March was a satire site. I'm like, I kind of get it, but I don't really get it.
I don't get it either. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Watchmen is kind of like superheroes, but not really.
$9.99. Yeah, exactly. $9.99, Bob, plus $8 shipping. It hurts when they get you with this shipping.
Yeah, the shipping's almost as much as the magazine. I'll wait for that to go
$9.99 plus $4 shipping. All right, we can make this work.
All right,
we're gonna.
Yeah.
Don't you dare send any to the office for an unboxing. We're gonna get these ourselves. I'm gonna get my guy Bob one.
Let me ask you this: when it comes to this movie, do you think the CGI intro sequence is better than the first one? It's similar. It's very similar.
Very similar. It's very similar. A little too similar, right? Where it's like
Xavier talking over it and everything.
You think you want a little bit better of a, in between movies. You think you upgraded the budget, got a big bump. You would hope you kind of get a little better than that. So that's all I'm going to say. Again, actually, no, you know what? I don't know if I was going to say, I don't want to get the CGI people upset at me. You can't really say that CGI or the special effects sucked and have people come back. Everyone, it's either they're mean or they don't say anything. They don't really defend it, right? I've noticed that.
This movie, X2, opens with Nightcrawler in the White House. Shout out Alan Cumming. Great performance as Nightcrawler in this movie. And this sequence in particular, I don't think it's one of the best sequences in this movie or in the X-Men franchise. I think this is one of the best and most memorable sequences in the history of comic book movies. I think it's so perfectly shot. The action is so cool. The weird, creepy looks of Nightcrawler that you're getting during it are so cool. The CGI holds up so well when he's flashing in and out. You just see his tail in some scenes. I absolutely love this scene. Do you like it as much as I do?
So I do, but I remember like being blown away by it the first time. 20 years later, you see the puppet master moving his hands a little bit, right?
Yeah,
it's definitely aged a little bit. As did there was one part where like every guy in the fucking White House has like a machine gun or at least a huge pistol, and I'm like, they just strap. I know the president's there, but like everybody's fucking strapped to the teeth right now. That one seemed a little excessive. That part seemed a little excessive.
I will say, I think this opening scene and how strong it is the first step for this movie, like raising the bar. As far as comic book movies go, I think X2 is kind of like The Dark Knight before The Dark Knight, in that it was like, oh, whoa. I didn't know comic book movies could be taken this seriously and be this good. The performances all around, amazing performances. Even Alan Cumming's introduction in the church, like his first real introduction with Storm and Jean Grey, he plays it so well, so scared, so innocent. You feel bad for him right away. You want to be Nightcrawler's friend. I remember as a kid, Nightcrawler instantly usurped Cyclops as my favorite character. Like I needed the Nightcrawler action figure right away. His outfit, his little striped pants and everything. And as an adult, it's like, wow, he's a fucking Catholic character who was born looking like the devil. It's a fucking good character.
Yeah, and I think they said the Germans, like he's saying to them, like, please leave. I'm like the mark of the devil, or I'm a freak who's
like ashamed of himself.
Yeah, he is there's some layers to this fucking guy, which I do appreciate. I had the Nightcrawler figure growing up. Just one of the coolest looking comic book characters ever, and just cool powers as well. Like, in the video games, he was always fun to play with as well. I just love Nightcrawler. There's just so many fucking X-Men. Feige's crew is going to have a hard time fucking this one up. There's just so many interesting characters. I'm just so excited for them to come in. You're talking about kid versus adult. Adult me, Halle Berry and Famke Johnson were just rubbing this guy down. They were doing nothing for him. Did you notice that?
They didn't. They didn't do a ton of help there. Also, I read Alan Cumming had to do 10 hours of makeup for just this scene because most of the movie, you could see his whole chest and back in this scene. But 10 hours of makeup. And Alan Cumming has spoken out about not having a pleasant experience on set. And it wasn't because of the makeup, wasn't because of the 10 hours. It was because of Bryan Singer. He wrote in his book, this is a very interesting story, that Bryan Singer was allegedly on painkillers at the time that this movie was shooting. He was starting to have outbursts on set. He was starting to act a little funny to people. So they stage an intervention in his trailer. This is the fucking cast of the intervention, Clem. Alan Cumming, Halle Berry, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, James Marsden, and Famke Janssen in full costume and makeup. So imagine walking into your trailer and there sit the X-Men ready to give you a drug intervention in real life. So he allegedly freaked out on him. He did not have a good reaction to their, intervention. And apparently Halle Berry was really trying to like talk to him and be nice to him and say, I've had friends go through addiction and I've had family go through whatever. And he freaks out. He says, you're lucky to be working with me. And nobody in this trailer's even made a decent movie without me. So Halle Berry drops an all-time quote on his ass. She says, and I quote from Alan Cumming's book, I've heard enough. You can kiss my black ass. Walked right out of the trailer.
Storm just dropped that on him.
Stormed out of the trailer.
Kiss my black ass. Wow.
Caused production to actually halt. Lawyers had to get on the phone with the studio for, I think, a couple days. Production halted while they figured this out and got back on track. But yes, apparently a very tumultuous set.
What would be a more ridiculous thing to walk in on? Not if you are the people who are actually involved, but you, Robbie Fox, if you just walked in your house, the X-Men staging an intervention for you, or the Sopranos staging an intervention like Christopher?
The X-Men, because Sopranos is at least like I'm in Jersey. Like I guess it makes geographical sense. If I walk in a Nightcrawlers in full makeup in my kitchen, like what the he's fixing himself a coffee.
Robbie, you have to lay off the green tea. I can't even try to do the
old Wagner. I like how they say that Wagner. They add the V instead of the W.
Man, that's the one thing like that was consistent with everything I was reading about this movie too, is that like Bryan Singer went to bat, wanted that guy coming so badly, and then he graced us with one of the greatest stories that probably one of Bryan Singer's lowest moments. Which again, we are an anti-Bryan Singer podcast. Don't want to get that twisted there, but Sally, he was going through a rough time, and a hell of a story though, a hell of a story. And again, Alan Cummings, like that Alan must like something must have been going on because they were just rubbing him down on that church thing. They put it, did you notice he had a solitary Band-Aid on his arm, like he had gotten the flu shot. And they're just like, they didn't even fight him or kick his ass. Like he fell. And then they're just like rubbing him. Like I would go through 10 hours of makeup every single day if it means Halle Berry and Famke Janssen would just rub my fucking upper torso for like 30 seconds. What the fuck?
It would have been great if they gave him like a cheesy X-Men bandage too, like the kind you get at the doctor's office when you're a kid. That would have been amazing.
Sienna just got a Spider-Man one. Funny you say that. She came home. She goes, AJ's to be so jealous. I got Spider-Man.
I love that doctor's offices are still doing it.
Oh, it's the best, dude. And she was freaking out, man. I don't know about you. I was a big scared of the shot guy. I was scared not only of the shot, but do you remember the little finger prick you would get?
Yeah, I hated the finger prick. I think I hated that more than the shot.
Yeah, me too. I think I did as well.
Because that you see bleed right away, and like it's just the visual of it is worse. The shot, I would just look away. I would completely not look in that direction.
She talked about it for 2 weeks straight before it actually happened. It was the most absurd thing I've ever. And then she was like, "Yeah, it didn't really hurt at all." I was like, "Yeah, you idiot." And you know what happened though? Everyone got McDonald's. That's the best thing. McDonald's is right down the road from there, and the whole family gets McDonald's when a kid goes to the doctor for a checkup.
Did your doctor's office do pretzel sticks growing up? That was the thing for my doctor. Like as soon as we walked out, like those big pretzel sticks, he got a big one, and I'd always put it in my mouth and pretend to be the penguin. I'd go, "Ma, ma, 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 ma."
Cigar. I like that. No, we were more traditional. It's like sticker. Maybe some lollipops. That's about it. But a pretzel, that's next level thinking there. I appreciate that.
I always liked the pretzel. Shout out Dr. Kolsky, my childhood doctor.
Shout out Dr. Kolsky.
Speaking of being a kid, as a kid, I always liked seeing the X-Men as teachers. And it's not like I'm not a teacher's pet. I didn't love my teachers, but just seeing them teach in the class, it was this weird, like, comfort safety thing in the X-Men of like, these are good people. Like I could trust the X-Men. They take me on a field trip. They're going to make sure I don't get lost. And I love the field trip scene to open things off. Like, how do you change things up from just we're going back to the X Mansion and it's a high school vibe again? They're on a field trip this time. You meet Iceman, or I think you met him very briefly in the first one, but you actually get to like talk to him in this one. And they have that great scene with Iceman and Pyro in the cafeteria when Xavier freezes time and comes in. It's so awesome. It's such a cool, powerful way to introduce him.
I love that power when every time he uses it. I love it.
I read on IMDb a fact about that scene that I just refuse to believe is true. It said like 150 extras were mimes in that scene, and that's how they stayed so still. I don't think there's no way there's 150 mimes on the planet.
And if there are, you can't have those 150 people together. There should be some sort of a law against those kind of creeps. No offense to the mime community that may be listening, anyone in the mime community. But like, come on, guys, that's fucking creepy.
It does feel like Bryan Singer was like chomping at the bit to get to Dark Phoenix, because the second you see Jean Grey, Cyclops walks up to her. He's like, your mind has been real dark since the last movie. It's like, whoa, you going right there.
He's called it a movie. It's like, dude, come on, you're ruining the illusion right now.
He's like, in the next one, you might go Dark Phoenix. It's like, all right, spoilers.
Now you're bringing up the comic books, dude. What the fuck? What is that, kayfabe? Don't break the kayfabe here. What are we doing? What is going? There was a fun fact that I forgot to mention in X1 that I think when the whole Magneto shit and like the force blows up or whatever, his like magnetic force, I think everyone reacts one way, and Jean is the only one who either doesn't react or reacts a different way. And they're saying that might be when the Dark Phoenix kind of gets unlocked in her mind.
And that's a great follow-up. And it's a great, like, yes, they pointed out right away, but they kind of just expect you to have seen the first movie in this one. And I appreciate that. They don't spell a lot out for you in this. And I even appreciate that the movie's called X2. That's the official title of the movie. Nowadays, it would absolutely be X-Men X2, the second one. Like, by the way, a Marvel production. I saw a tweet the other day that said, like, there's no way Warner Brothers would allow a movie called The Dark Knight to be a Batman movie. Like, it would be Batman: The Dark Knight. They
streaming on HBO Max, September 23rd.
Yeah, I don't like that. But tell you what I do like, Brian Cox as Stryker.
Listen, I'm just gonna give everyone the not the warning, just a heads up. You're gonna think these are like Robbie's doing ads. These seem like ads. There's no the ads are done with. We paid the bills. It's the end of the year. Everything's been wrapped up. So everything, guys, this one's on the house right here. These are for the people that did subscribe. The 47,000+.
Yes, I did think in my mind as I set that up, I was like, that really sounded like I was about to go into like a meal service or something like that. But no, I'm talking Brian Cox, Logan Roy as Stryker. He's such a fucking good villain in this movie. Such a good villain that you almost immediately feel sympathy for Magneto. Yeah. Someone that in the last one's horrible, right? But he comes in, he has such a good performance. He has that line where he goes, "Don't lecture me about war." And you just feel the Logan Roy coming out of his pores.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, you expect him to say that at some point. He mentions the house that Xavier built. I loved that phrasing. I was like, oh shit, that's a cool thing to call the X Mansion. And even when Wolverine and Stryker come face to face in the X Mansion a little later, he's got such a sinister smile, and he just knows he is eating up real estate in Wolverine's mind. That scene, by the way, another fun fact I read on IMDb that I refuse to believe. Apparently, they used a real ice wall that weighed 3,500 pounds for that scene. Why? That seems so unnecessary.
I'm going to be convinced until someone can prove it not true that Nick and or KB came up with both of those fun facts for not believing, because that is like right up their alley. That's right up their fucking alley. And like you could talk to them like, oh yeah, I was kind of obsessed with making up X2 fun facts for like a year in like junior high or something. If you heard that from Nick, would you even blink by an eyelash? I wouldn't. I'd be like, yep, that's about right, Nick.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just so like, why, like you're telling me a set designer, there's like 64 sets or something on this movie. Beautiful, intricate sets. You're telling me they couldn't make a fucking wall that looked a little see-through, looked a little bit like ice? I don't believe that.
Not for a second. We're on to your bullshit, Nick.
I also love Stryker's henchwoman He's got Yuriko. She reminds me so much of a James Bond henchman or henchwoman in that way, where it's just like maybe one line in the whole movie, but she has a good look, and that's all that really matters. She gets a good fight scene at the end as well. But just a shout out to Yuriko, who I think in the comic is Deathstrike, not Deathstroke. DC had the rights to that one, so they changed a letter, and she's Deathstrike.
Lady, is it Lady Deathstrike? I thought there. I don't know if there's a lady.
Something like that, maybe.
Kind of think I have a thing for girls with silver eyes. I learned this movie. I think I have a thing for silver eyes. I don't know if there's another actual living person with silver eyes, but yeah, she kind of did it for me. I'm not gonna lie to you, Bob.
I always dug the look of Cerebro in this one, kind of the randomness of it. When Professor X is looking, it's all red, and he's seeing and hearing voices from every which way. It almost seems like he has to really focus in on who he wants. Always thought that was well done. And Mystique later, when she's able to steal the blueprints on Cerebro, they're just in a folder titled Cerebro. Who did that? No password locker. I guess there was she kind of got through a password lock, but like, don't label the folder that. Label it like top secret, something like that.
At least top secret. Definitely not Cerebro. Like Professor X's porn stash or something, just so people are like, all right, we're not going to look at that, or like weird shit. Like, just put something there that they're not going to go to. Cerebro. But I will say, though, I am very happy we didn't get like the hacking scenes that you'd always get where they're just banging on the keyboard, like the Kermit the Frog meme or whatever. And it's like it was some rough times in the early stages of the internet in the late 90s where it's just like, oh God, guys, we got it. Like, this is just not how it is in real life.
I did like another thing that they just kind of expected you to remember from the first one was Mystique as Senator Kelly in the beginning. Yep. Very quickly, it's just like, oh yeah, Senator Kelly's in this movie. And if you didn't see the first one, you'd probably be confused or taken by surprise when you realize it's Mystique. But I also love Ian McKellen's delivery of "the war has begun" as his cell is getting gassed, which I realized on this watch, like, oh fuck, they put gas in his cell like a Holocaust victim. That's how they decided to get him down. Brutal. That's a very good scene though, with him and Charles in it, and he's like, I'm sorry, like I gave everything up. He knows everything. And Stryker is now teaming up mortal enemies, the people that you never thought would be on the same side, once again on the same side. And also, I always thought the very simplest things about the big ambush sequence were awesome as a kid. Like, as a kid, the three coolest things in this movie were the fact that kids could stay up late in the school if they want. Like, when Wolverine comes down, he sees Iceman, he's like, kids ever get sleep in this school? And he's like, apparently not. Like, he's eating a bowl of cereal or whatever. I was like, that's so cool. The kid who could change TV channels by blinking. I was awesome. Like, I want to know everything about that kid. Like, every time he blinks, does that change the channel? Even if it's an involuntary blink, is he focusing in on the blinks? Can he get like pay-per-view channels? Is it like a black box where you don't have to order the pay-per-view? He could just get it in a little shuffled vision of it. I also thought chilling a Coke with one breath was maybe the coolest way to use a mutant power I've ever seen. Like, Wolverine gets the Coke and he's like, that's a little warm. He just holds it out to Iceman. He's like, there you go.
The way he sets it up too, he's like, oh, that pantry might have that warm pantry that is definitely not cold at all, and he needs to get it cold. First of all, I think we need to have Kelly Martin be like, we need to talk to the guy who played that character who blinked to change the channels. And then we just ask him every question we could think of. And he's like,
I don't know. I was 8.
He'd be like, why the fuck are these people? It'd be impossible to track this guy down. Probably. I don't think he became like a big actor.
He's probably, I mean, he's got to be 30 at least now, right? He's probably 10 in the movie.
That would be a great episode. I was like, come on, man. But could you do this? Like, guys, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't have an agent. I just got a phone call from Kelly one day. And I was like, I guess I'll join. I've heard of Barstool. Like, you guys, I like the pizza reviews and everything. And then
by the way,
mutant questions.
Speaking of Kelly Martin, the whole Barstool talent team, shout out to the Barstool talent team. This year, they booked all the guests on My Mom's Basement. Kelly Martin, Jordan Berry, Katie, Jillian. Thank you guys very much for booking all the guests. They work very hard, don't get a lot of recognition, so we appreciate that.
Better than the XMen, the talent team at Barstool. That, according to Robbie Fox, put it on a quote card. It's all true. One other thing I noticed during that scene with Iceman and Wolverine, it's the first kind of like, all right, we hit some gold with this first movie. We're gonna start cashing the fuck in, because if you notice, Iceman is eating ice cream and it says Ben and Jerry's on it, or not Ben and Jerry's, Baskin Robbins.
Okay.
And it's like a Baskin Robbins pint, And it's like a big one. And it's like, no one gets that. Like, it looks
No.
like he got it from the store. And I'm sure you could get it packed at Baskin Robbins. It's like if you had it, you would put it into a bowl and you'd eat it out of the bowl. But that's just them trying to cash them checks. And Wolverine, you know what he's drinking, Bob?
Coke, right?
Dr. Pepper. He's drinking a Dr. Pepper.
Gotcha.
And listen, I love the Doctor. DP, one of my favorite drinks in the world. It's gratuitous. Like, knowing what we know about comic movies, when the guy just happens to be driving the Audi and the fucking logo hits you in the forehead as he's driving onto the screen, I'm like, all right, like they now know this one's gonna bring some money back to us, other than just the box office receipts.
Yeah. And the ambush scene itself is another all-timer for comic book movies in my eyes. I think it's shot perfectly. The chaoticness, the franticness, the fact that there's kids in the house and all of the adults are mostly just focused on making sure the kids are safe. I love the line between Wolverine and Rogue where he's like, go, I'll be fine. She's like, but we won't. It's like, yeah, the X-Men's a family. That's how a little sister would respond to her big brother.
There was a line in the first movie where Magneto says, if they come in, or they, what happens when they come in at night into your, school, Charles, what are you going to do then? And sure enough, those fucking villainous humans did the goddamn thing.
And this scene in the original cut was actually a bit more violent when it comes to Logan killing Stryker's troops. It earned the movie a rated R rating, and they had to cut scenes to secure a PG-13. F the Snyder cut. I'm more interested in the rated R cut of X2.
Give me the Logan cutting motherfuckers the ribbons cut, right?
Yeah, the blood and gore cut or something like that. Did you see the Logan video game just had some leaks, or the Wolverine video game from Insomniac? People were complaining that there's like no blood and guts yet. It's literally like pre-alpha footage. Like, it's the most simple of footage ever. It's like they haven't added the blood and guts, guys. People are so bloodthirsty when it comes to Wolverine that they're like, where is it?
I forget that we have that Wolverine Berserker mode. I'm hoping Deadpool 3 is already going to have all that rated R rating. Give it to us. Let Hugh get his one last, full Wolverine aggression out on the big screen. That's what I'm hoping for in Deadpool 3.
You say that, and obviously Deadpool has to have a rated R rating. Has to. But I'm thinking in my mind, if it's the #1 movie that sets up Secret Wars, there's going to be a lot of confused kids when it comes to Secret Wars, isn't there? Like their parents, if they don't take them to see Deadpool 3, the fucking movie where they're probably going to say dick or maybe even show a dick. Like, I don't think they're going to take kids to see that, but Secret Wars is going to be family friendly again.
It's going to be pretty important. Yeah, that's actually a great point. Don't fuck this up, Marvel. Like, you just have to you guys have fucked up this phase so much with your PG shows that were not very good and the movies that kind of flopped or did flop. Just going to have to just roll with the punches here, Mickey Mouse. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, pal.
Magneto breaking out of prison. What a satisfying scene. What an awesome, I can't believe we're rooting for the bad guy here, but I'm rooting so hard for the bad guy here when he does the metal coming out of the guy and don't trust a woman, especially if you think she's interested in you. He kind of roasts the guy on the way out. Then he turns the thing into a little platform for him to go on. Totally like a comic book scene. And it felt like they wrote this scene to be like, we don't have a scene for Ian McKellen to really show that he's one of the best actors ever in this movie. So let's write one for him to show that. Shows here he kind of gets trumped by Stryker in this. I feel like Stryker gives maybe the best performance in the movie. Yeah,
I think that's fair. But Magneto has his moments. They got to make Magneto. He's fucking. I tell like when Magneto's Magneto, he's Magneto. He's really special. That guy. But I love that whole setup of it all where she puts the pill in there, knocks him out, injects him with the metal. And honestly, that you can't even blame that dude. If a girl that looks like Rebecca Romaine is just coming on to you at a dive bar and just, throws you into the bathroom, it's like, all right, whatever you want to do, girl, inject me with whatever you want, girl. And just an absolutely vicious way to die. Death by metal flakes basically bursting through your skin. And that's one of the great Magneto moments. I have to say, though, it was an awesome prison break. It's one of my favorite scenes in all the X-Men movies. However, he has his arms crossed, and it looks cool in the comic books. I think he does it. It looks very awkward when it's an old man doing it, and he had the balls.
It looks almost like you're just dragging him across the screen with a cursor,
And it's you put too much starch in his shirt or something because it's it's extra stiff. If he had maybe the cloak on and whatever, he would have looked better. But just the way it was, I was like, That just looks awkward. And the ball spinning, I'm sure it's like an atom thing, and then it's the protons, the neutrons, the electrons, whatever it may be. But it just seemed goofy looking.
Oh, I like the ball
a little
spinning.
weird.
I like
you
it.
Liked it?
I like the way they shot the drugging scene too, like the under the table shot where they show the glass and you see the pills in it. That was really clever. And another classic scene is the police standoff at Bobby's house, so Iceman's house.
Yep.
Police standoff outside, Wolverine getting shot in the head and then, spitting the bullet out, Pyro going crazy, being like, those big bad mutants. Well, I'm the worst of all. I thought Pyro was such a badass as a little kid. I was like, what an awesome superhero vigilante type role. And a couple stuntmen apparently actually almost died during the filming of this scene. Like 2 stuntmen came very close to death because there was so much pyrotechnics and explosions going on.
Really?
Thank God that they didn't. Also, Bobby's coming out scene where he kind of comes out as a mutant to his parents and stuff was worked on by Ian McKellen. He stepped in and said, let's make this like a gay coming out scene. And they were like, perfect. That's kind of what we're going for here. And he helped them out with that. How do you feel about Bobby Iceman? I like him in this movie. I always did.
Oh yeah, I always liked Iceman. I like the character Iceman, and I don't know, the actor I thought it was like, that's exactly how I figured he would look on the screen. He looks so much younger now than when I remember watching him the first time. It's probably because I was like around his age and now I'm old, but it was one of those things that always kind of threw me off. But I always liked that actor a lot. I was always a big fan of him.
It is weird for me watching this. Like, I watched it for the first time when I was 5, and I looked up to everyone in the movie. Like, everyone was older than me. Everyone was like cooler than me. I was like, these guys are awesome. Now I would assume I'm older than Bobby Iceman was in the movie. I'm 25 now. I don't think he was 25 in this movie. It's like watching the Little League World Series a little bit for me. Like, older than these kids? That's fucked up. I used to watch them when I was little. It's weird.
Only gets worse, Bob. I mean, I know you don't watch as many games as I do, but once you start, you're older than like the star player or the rookies, and you're older than this. And once you're older than the guys who are retiring, you're just like, it's the absolute bits. So you'll get that in the comic book movies version of it all. But he's a cool, like, again, the blowing on the Dr. Pepper, that's just cool. And also like like, let's be honest, if you're like in high school or whatever year they're in and you're dating, Anna Paquin, a smoke, it's like, there's a chance she could kill me, but I'm just going to take that chance. I need to feel skin right now. I don't really care.
Anyone's taking that chance. Absolutely. Especially when she puts the gloves on. It's like, oh, well, now I'm head over heels. It's like, yeah. The X-Jet also gets a little more shine in this one. You see it during the daylight. You get a full action sequence with it where Storm is touching down tornadoes. I hope they're not touching down, though. I was thinking that as I was watching this, I was like, she just generated like 30 tornadoes in fucking Boston. They were leaving Boston. Did they touch down? That was crazy.
Oh, that would be hilarious. It's like the most catastrophic weather pattern in the history of the world just happened, and no one knows why. And it's like
the rest of the X-Men just turned to Storm, like.
It's like, yeah, like, and the fucking all of Boston looks like it does in The Last of Us. It's like just Godzilla, fucking level destroyed.
I was like, I don't
Aurora
know.
Monroe.
Apparently, there were rewrites on this movie specifically to give Halle Berry more scenes because she like blew up between this because of Monsters Ball, I believe was the name of the movie. This was one where I thought this could have been a rewritten scene because it was just, all on the X-Jet, very tiny, very small shoot. Nightcrawler's save on Rogue is so cool when she falls out of the plane and he like warps back, gets her, brings her back on the plane. And Magneto's save when he like brings the ship down there, like, that's not me. It's almost the ship getting pulled into the Death Star. Like, we can't control it now. That's no moon. It's fucking Magneto.
2 things about Monsters Ball. 1, Halle Berry won the Oscar for it.
Oh.
2, she had sex in it. It was a sex scene, and it stopped the world for.
I've never before today. I don't know if I've ever even heard of it. I assume it's a good movie if she won the Oscar.
It's with Billy Bob Thornton. I've never watched the movie. I might have watched a scene from the movie. I won't discuss which scene, but I have seen it before. I think it's like I think it's like a story about like an abusive relationship. Like it's not. You don't want to be watching that. I have much more fun watching the X-Men than that. But
yeah,
there is a scene or so that might be a little more fun. And again, that is, I think, a reason why it's like, oh, her role's gonna grow, which we see happen with different characters in the other X-Men movies. It's like, we're gonna put Mystique in every scene now because Jennifer Lawrence blew up since this movie. Which I'll tell you guys, I'm going to be complaining about that, I imagine, a whole lot, because I remember losing my mind if you'd be like, shut the fuck up. Stop doing that.
Yeah, and also in every movie, she just gets less and less prosthetics and makeup.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the movie, she just looks like a Smurf or something. It's like, this is not Mystique.
She's just Jennifer Lawrence. She's just walking around
Yeah.
as herself with like blue clothes on. She's like,
It's like powder blue. Yeah. Just, it's no good.
Well, some of them were way too calm as that jet was crash landing. They were just like, oh shit, blah, blah, blah. Maybe
I guess, it's mutant
powers.
blood or something. Yeah. They're just like calm, cool, collect. They're like, hey, we're fucking mutants. The world ain't so good for us as it is. If we go down, we go down. Yeah. They're dark about it.
What does Magneto say to to Pyro? He's like,
what's your real name?
Yeah.
What's talking to him in that scene?
Yeah. What's your real name? Or, and then how they're kind of just being dicks to him. And he's like, they're ants compared to you or something.
That. Yeah. He says like, he tells him he's almost like being self-deprecating. And he's like, I can only move the fire. I can't like create fire. And he just looks at him and he's like, you are a god amongst ants.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa, that's a badass line. You were talking about Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton getting a little steamy. Logan and Jean Grey get a little steamy in this movie. Oh. They expand upon that love triangle dynamic. And unfortunately, my rewatch of X2 just made me realize Cyclops is a cuck. He is a pansy, as your wife called him. He is kind of just a bitch. Like, he was always my favorite. I always defended him. I had the action figures. I remember you could take the visor off. His visor in this movie looks badass, too. It's a great Cyclops design. But he does nothing in this movie. He just gets kidnapped. He fucking brings his old grandpa, Professor X, to the prison and gets them both kidnapped. It's like Bobby Bacala and Uncle June in there.
That's good. That's a good comparison right there. My pansy meter, I was like, he's still himself. Like, it's like we said 3.5 out of 5 for the last one.
Yeah.
In terms of the balls, he's almost like a 2 out of 5 because he's not on screen enough. Like, he's still like the same old.
Barely on screen in this movie. He doesn't do anything. He gets his car stolen. In the last movie, he gets his motorcycle stolen. This one, he gets his car stolen.
You know who hates Cyclops more than anyone? His insurance agent. He's like, dude, are you fucking serious? You got the fucking car stolen now? And it's like, it turns out your coworker just stole the motorcycle after all that. It was a lot less Cyclops than I remember. And then I'm like, am I being too tough on him? Because he's like barely on screen, but he's just constantly catching L's. And you're like, well, that's not what the leader of the X-Men should be doing.
No, just L after L after L. Now you get to like Stryker's base and whatnot. Stryker's lair is actually the largest set in North America at the time.
Whoa.
It was built in an old Sears warehouse, and the cast used bikes to get around and go to the bathroom. Like, if they had to go to the bathroom, they hopped on a fucking bicycle and they pedaled their ass down there. Kind of crazy. Also, they filmed a lot of this in Alberta, Canada, where they expected it to be covered in snow. And it was like a weird season where it did not get covered in snow. So they had to just bring in a bunch of fake snow. That could have been, I guess we're going to have to do fake snow instead of Sentinels in this movie.
The fake snow it brought up, I blogged about it. I found out the Curse's Vacation House is in California, not Chicago. And it broke my goddamn heart, Bob.
Let me ask you something. In that Christmas spirit, what breaks your heart more? The fact that that's in California and not Chicago, or the fact that the interior of the Home Alone house was like built in a gymnasium?
I could live with the interior of the Home Alone house. I like seeing the interior and the exterior made me feel poor. The fact that the interior was fake, I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a lot better. It still is like offensive to me, but the gym that it was filmed in was in Chicago as well. I feel like if you're a Christmas movie,
true,
in somewhere that's cold, you have to earn the right to fucking have that. And these people in California balmy 70 degrees every day of the goddamn week. So you're not a Christmas Vacation guy. I know we blamed your brother for it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. It was one of my favorite movies until like 3 nights ago when I was like looking at my phone. I'm like, where is this? Maybe I'll visit next time out in Chicago. Just fucking California. And then someone tweeted me. It was like, oh no, they bulldozed everything. So it's not even fucking a lot. I'm like, how do you not take the fucking National Lampoon's house, bring it to a random part of Chicago, charge $10, $20, $30 for idiots like me to go take a picture, throw Uncle Eddie's fucking RV in the driveway, the lights, a million lights, boom, gold mine, absolute gold mine. And they bulldozed it. Morons.
Absolute morons. I think
that's my thoughts about the fake snow, Bob.
I think the second half of this movie loses a little steam just a little bit. I think the setup and the first hour of the movie, when you get to that big standoff with the cops in Boston, is the strongest part. A little too much to that little girl in the second half of the movie. I could have done with a little less of her talking to Professor X,
Yep.
trying to figure shit out. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we get the point. We understand the illusion that he's creating with his mind and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just gets kind of weird. Again, Singer, weirdo as well. So you're rewatching it with it. It's like, just don't like it. Not a big fan.
No.
The different colored eyes, though. The first minute I ever saw Max Scherzer on my team, I'm like,
yep.
X-Men 2. Like, I think everyone was in the same boat with that.
I knew you were going right there with that. That being said.
Also, weaponizing Professor X is a fucking incredible plan, too. Like, let's weaponize what. Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's not Magneto, but it's still metal. That being said, about the second half of this movie losing a little bit of steam, the Wolverine flashbacks are still really good. When you see like the bloody flashbacks, he's got fucking blood all over. He looks like a savage. He's coming out with the adamantium for the first time. Really cool. Also, when they filmed that naked flashback scene where he's like running through the hallways naked, apparently Hugh Jackman turned around on the first shot of that. It was just like a shot of his butt or something. And all the girls on set, along with James Marsden's mom, had like dollar bills and they were hooting and hollering like he was a stripper. Probably couldn't do that in 2023, but it's a very wholesome story from 2003.
Is Hugh Jackman, is he British or is he Australian? He is Australian. He'd be fine with it now. He'd always be fine with it. Australians. Oh,
yeah.
It's kind of like the Tommy DeVito stuff. It's like, and us Italians are just laughing it off. It's fine.
It's cheeky behavior, you know?
Yes, it's cheeky behavior.
No pun intended with the cheeks out. Yeah.
However, you could get in big trouble if you did it to the wrong star at the wrong movie. I am 100%.
Or if you gender swapped and like we're like all the guys on set were like standing out there for Monster Ball or whatever for Halle Berry.
that could be problematic for sure.
I also love in this whole like things start to get chaotic. Mystique comes in and she takes the shape of Stryker for a second. And I love this. You get a little bit of it in X1, but now knowing Brian Cox and Logan Roy and kind of the personality he is, when he's like, it could be anyone, you know, shut down. We've got a morphine on the loose. He puts a little sass in his walk and he puts a little sass in his like slap, and just seeing Brian Cox knowing in his mind, it's like, all right, be fucking Mystique in this scene. He's like hysterical.
That was great. Yep. And the fact that Brian Cox is the one doing it, not Rebecca Romijn, obviously.
Yes.
It's his human. So fucking funny. And again, there's like 10 different times in this movie where he's like, fuck off in my mind. I'm just waiting for him to say it. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I knew he was a Stryker. I just, like, I didn't even connect it to it. Then I watch him like, oh, fuck yeah, we got fucking Brian Cox.
In the rated R cut, he's allowed to say all that.
Yeah, exactly. If someone could somehow just add the fuck offs, that would be a great video.
AI could definitely do it now. You know, you could find the right spots. You could do an AI mouth thing so it looks like he's actually saying it. I'm sure that could work.
Did you see the video I blogged the other day? Back to the Future 4. Someone made a trailer, a fan-made trailer. Yeah, someone
like
made
AI.
Oh, Bob, wait till I tell you about this one. Not only so, someone made up a fake Back to the Future 4 trailer using AI, using basically scenes from like other people were in. So like Michael J. Fox is old. Everyone's older now, right?
Yeah.
And the kid, the newest McFly, Michael J. Fox's kid, I suppose it is.
Chris Pratt.
No.
Pedro Pascal.
Close. No, it's in the MCU. It's not someone who's been constantly bombarded with the
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. And I'm telling you, dude, I'm like, shit, I see some Michael J. Fox in there. And it kind of blew me away. So check it out. It's a really well fan-made trailer. So if they could do that, we could definitely get a fuck off William Stryker cut. I think that's fair.
Tom Holland's almost the anti-Pedro Pascal Chris Pratt in that, like, he's so good and everyone loves him, but he's not cast in everything. He's cast in a lot of shitty stuff. He's got a bad agent. I know he's in Uncharted, people like that. I didn't see that. I'm sure I would like that because I think it kind of has Indiana Jones type vibes and stuff. But he's in that movie Cherry that got bad reviews. He was in that Apple TV series that got such bad reviews. He put out like a sad statement about it this year. Like, hey, I know nobody likes this, but I worked really hard on it. And thanks for the people that do like it. It broke my heart for a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. I feel like his like agent's probably like, dude, we have to be very careful. Because if you become toxic with so many bad films, you're going to lose Zendaya. Like, her people are going to make her break up with me. He's like, I can't do that, guys. This is the best thing going in my life right
Although,
now.
did you see Chalamet's statement about Tom Holland this week?
No.
Someone said like, "Oh, have you met Tom Holland with Zendaya or whatever?" He's like, "Yeah, Tom Holland is like a fox. He's like, he's an absolute stunner. Like, he's an absolute ladies." The way he was talking about it made it sound like Chalamet was upset that Zendaya wouldn't cheat on Tom Holland with him. He's like, this fucking guy. He locked down his girlfriend.
He's charming as fuck too. Like I know that we've like we've blogged some of like his quotes that he's had in interviews, and he had something with his family and the brothers. I forgot what exactly it was.
Well, his dad is a stand-up comedian, and his dad has that stand-up joke about it. He's like, I know you're not supposed to have a favorite child, but I feel like that gets thrown out the window when one of your children is Spider-Man.
That's what it is. Yep. So he obviously has the dad's gene too, so he has a little bit of that funny side of him. So I guess shout out Tom Holland.
Shout out Tom Holland.
I do
always
think
welcome in the basement.
Exactly. I'm sure he like has no interest in getting involved in another like fucking franchise. And I'm telling you, I don't want to see a Back to the Future 4 because I didn't really love Back to the Future 3. However, this trailer, you're kind of like, wouldn't hate it though. I wouldn't hate it. It's just tough with Michael J. Fox, obviously, in his current state. They'd have to do some work there.
Back to X2, when Rogue comes in with the jet, I wrote flying it like we were flying the Millennium Falcon. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You're just hoping you don't crash it. Eventually you kind of crash land, but everything's okay. Jean Grey, the big sacrificing herself moment in the end, which obviously will lead into the next movie in the Dark Phoenix saga, was apparently a big secret on set. So the novelization and the comic version of the movie had alternate endings because they came out before the movie. And Famke Johnson herself, or Johnson, I don't know how you say that. She didn't even know until halfway through filming when Bryan Singer told her. So that's kind of, you think maybe a gut punch, but if it's at the end of the movie, it's not like, hey, we're killing you off in the first scene, Scream style. It's like, you make it to the end of the movie, but well, he probably told her you'll come back too, because we're setting up obviously the Dark Phoenix saga. So probably wasn't a gut punch. She was probably okay with it. This
is probably the best thing that could happen to your character, because like Jean Grey can be forgettable at some points, in the shows, comics, whatever.
And she doesn't have a ton to do in this movie. So to be able to make the big sacrifice is like, oh, that's what Jean Grey gets to do in X2.
Jean Grey fucking rules when I think Jean Grey is awesome, but it's like there are times where she's kind of just like background noise. Like, you're not even the best psychic we have right now, or you're not completely untapped. You're an untapped resource is what you are. So everything worked out just fine. But that whole scene, and at the end, she's given the speech Xavier gave in the first one. Like, I don't know, I loved it all. And fucking, so there's one part of it though, I just had to laugh, and it's a very like heavy scene, but fucking Wolverine's like, she's gone, and it's like, I was like, don't you say that, and he just keeps saying she's gone over and over. it's like, dude, that's kind of like, if Wolverine wanted to be cruel, he could have been doing that on purpose. I know he wasn't, but I just started laughing. She's gone, and I'm like, dude, you just keep stabbing.
Stop saying it. Don't say list.
Don't say list. Mom, I was gonna say this. Don't say list. Oh, you know what I'm making? I have to actually pick up the ingredients. I'm gonna make it in a few days.
Snickers pie?
Snickers pie.
You got to make the video as you're doing it, right?
I'm gonna make
Rumble
the video.
Snickers on the top. Yeah. I love Rico. That guy's the best. This scene, though, as a kid watching this, 5 years old in the movie theater, this was heavy for me. Watching someone die, watching Cyclops be that sad, I was like, oh, fuck. This ain't a movie that I'm used to. This ain't the Adam West Batman. And like you said, Jean Grey gives the same speech at the end of this movie that Xavier gave at the beginning of the first one. Like poetry, it rhymes. And I love that scene in the president's Oval Office where the X-Men come and visit him and stop time in the middle of his fucking speech. And you get the storm and the darkness and everything. And then in a flash, it's done. Like, Charles gives him the, hey, we're here to stay. So why don't you fucking get used to it? We're helping things out here. And then boom, he's right back into the press conference. They're like, Mr. President, what's going on? It's like the Mitch McConnell. Oh, is that what happened to Mitch McConnell? Did the X-Men visit him in that moment?
Wow.
Wow. I just realized that.
I hope to God that one person in the billions of tweets that were sent that day referenced did the X-Men visit him like in X2 when they visited the president.
I mean, speaking of cutting things together, I'm sure you could cut that scene together with the clip of Mitch McConnell freezing. If someone can do that, holy shit, that would be funny.
Oh man, that so again, I love those powers, and then like I love the scene. So it's like they take out the electricity with the storm and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So it's obviously the people at home would not be frozen as well. And just the way like and they're like, this guy Stryker was a dick. Here's all the stuff we have on him, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get cooking here for X3, which I'm gonna say X3 is not gonna have the same love in people's hearts that X2 had going into it, from what I remember.
It's not. That being said, I stand by X3 being very overhated and almost underrated at this point. I think it's very watchable. People act like it's a horrendous movie. It's definitely not. There's moments of it where you're like, "Oh my god, why would they make that choice or that choice?" But overall, I think it's pretty good. And they do some Charles de-aging in X3 that in I think it was 2006 or something
Yeah,
that came out.
2006.
Unbelievable CGI for the time. Like, it looks very, very good, which also we were talking about Charles, just looking at Patrick Stewart 20 years ago. He looks younger, so maybe our eyes are deceiving us a little bit there, but I think X3 is better than people give it credit for. Not X2. X2 is amazing. It's the crown jewel of the X-Men franchise in my eyes. Is it the perfect movie? No, it's not the perfect movie. There's scenes in it that I don't love, but I think for the time, it's about as close as anyone came to the perfect comic book movie.
Yeah, I think and I think it helps set up a lot of the other stuff we got in the future in the
Yeah.
comic, and
And even in the, when you go forward into, you eventually reboot X-Men with like First Class and stuff, but then they bring it back with Days of Future Past and you have both crews meet each other. Like, that movie feels so much bigger because of how good these movies were. And I think X3 is a part of that. I think if X3 was a total across the board colossal failure, like say X-Men Apocalypse, I don't think people are, really wanting those characters back as much as they did.
I think they had hit doubles and at least singles. They couldn't have strikeouts, pop outs, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, strikeouts?
Oh,
Stryker? Ooh.
so it's like I think it could have tried to hit a home run with these, but like I think they did perfectly fine because it's like the whole fucking franchise was based on these first one, and then obviously the second one hitting, and then in a crazy way. So yeah, 3 does get a lot of hate. 3, I remember being like, I remember saying it was one of my first jobs back in the day, and after college, and I remember being like, oh, I'm a big X-Men fan. Like I had fun, and someone was like, oh, I got like it was my first ever experience in the real world with like a real life comic book guy who was like, worst movie ever. And I was like, all right, so. Again, the internet wasn't humming like it was now with social media and stuff. So you couldn't just get a million of those the day of a release. So I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. I didn't like that movie at all. It was terrible. So it's like, just that kind of nonsensical banter. So I'll be very interested whenever we do watch X3, which should be in the future. I'll be very interested to see how it holds up now. Because this one, I really liked in the movie theater. It's like most things though, like 20 something years and whatever, you're going to have like some things where you're like, oh, that's a little off. But unless you're a legitimate, like the Empire Strikes Back of the Star Wars movies, not everything holds up just as well. So I'll be interested to see how we feel about, like, will we rank this? Who was your MVP of the movie?
Good. Stryker.
Yep. So
Brian Cox.
I'd Stryker as well. Just like, again, like you said it perfectly. The fact he makes like Magneto seem like, nah, he's not such a bad guy, like
you feel bad for Magneto immediately when he like hits the acid on the back of his neck and Magneto's like drugged. You're like, oh, he's just a poor old man.
Yeah, exactly. And like Magneto, and we don't go deep into Stryker's backstory other than, he's a mutant son and whatever else. But like Magneto was, went through the most horrific parts of that era as a kid growing up and saw the worst in humanity. I don't think Stryker went through anything like that. So the fact he is such a motherfucker is something. And again, Brian Cox plays the shit out of that role and the voice and everything about it. And the line I love that he gives Wolverine: "You're an animal. You were an animal then. You're an animal now. I just gave you claws." What a fucking line! And the other thing is, he gets the end of the movie is just getting mollywopped left and right. He's just getting his ass kicked. He thinks he escapes. They tie him up to the plane as the fucking waves are coming. And I'm just like, this guy is just he just got dragged at the end. I loved it.
Also, the scene between Eureka, his henchwoman, and Wolverine. Good fight scene. When she's got the claws too, that was a good action scene. Better than maybe any fight scene in the first one. I think the choreography got better in X2.
Yes. I also will say, like, again, 20-year difference. Like fight scenes, I didn't like love the fight. I feel like fight scenes have gotten much better.
Way better. Way better.
Current times.
Yeah.
So just seeing what they were back then to now, I'd be interested if I watched the old Spider-Man again, how they would all look, all the fight scenes.
Similar, I think. Similar
so?
to these, yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. I guess if I didn't go Stryker for MVP, I wouldn't go Magneto. I would go Sir Ian McKellen because the prison scenes, man, like his eyes and just his look and demeanor, it's like that's just a tired old man. But then even like the fuck these guys, we're gonna just, we're gonna strike back. There's a war coming, this and that. And then even I don't know, I'm a sucker for when the good guys team up with the villains and whatever. So I really like that. I wish they had kept it where he did kind of the face turn, because there is a Magneto face turn all the time in the comics, I feel. But to make him like just kind of double down on that, I know it's different in the movies. You only have one every few years, but I thought that was cool.
He's kind of face turned by the end of the cartoon, right?
I don't even remember, to be honest.
I want to say he turns face in like the finale or something. So I think there's a chance X-Men 97 will start with like him not as a villain.
I'm gonna have to catch up on that because, again, in my mind, it comes out January 4th, which I'm still not sure it is. But
confirmed by Disney not to take place. I got a press release from them recently. It says no date announced.
Oh, god damn it!
So unfortunately, won't be back. But you know what? We'll be back on January 4th, maybe 5th. Is my mom's basement. So the people will have that at least.
maybe it depends how many subscribers.
True. Yeah, we got to get subscribers, man. Fast food review for this one.
Oh, LVP. Let me hear the LVP.
Oh, LVP first. The LVP of this one, it's hard because I don't think there are a lot of LVPs in this one, but I'm going to say it's probably my guy Cyclops for his lack of appearance necessarily.
Just the writers really put the LVP on him.
It's not really his fault, but he is kind of like, this movie made me realize he's a bitch and a cuck.
So this one was tough for me too. Like I'm looking at all the characters, I'm like, I really don't know who the LVP was, and it reminds me of the mom from Below, who I fucking hated. She's just such a miserable bitch, and she rats on her son. And I understand why he does it because he's a freaked out little kid. But Bobby's brother calling the cops, so I'm gonna give it to him. He has like 2 minutes on screen, but it's like fuck him. Every time I see him, I get angry instantly. So LVP, Bobby's brother.
Hey, how about the cop that shoots Wolverine and also tells him to drop the knives?
Yeah, that guy. That guy. It's a hardo cop. There's
hardo cop. Oh my god. Yeah, that cop better have body cam footage.
Exactly. There's a line in Departed where it's like, are you a cop because you want to help people or because you wanted to hold a gun or something? Like that's the guy who just wanted the gun. That guy.
Yes. So then the fast food review. Interesting, because this movie, for me, it's a classic that I go back to time and time again. I enjoy it every time. So honestly, I'm going to go with Wendy's Nuggets. Just plain Wendy's Nuggets. Nothing crazy, but it is exactly what I want. When I'm looking back at the Nuggets throughout the years, I'm like, Wendy's, that's the one that I want. When I look back at the X-Men movies throughout the year, I feel the same way about X2.
So you're looking at the Wendy's menu, or in this case, the X-Men movies, and there's, a wide array of stuff that has some good moments, bad moments, whatever. And the Nuggets are the choice.
The Nuggets are the fastball. And, I have the 10-piece, and I look at the 10-piece, and I go Xavier, I go Wolverine, I go Magneto, I go Stryker, and for every Nugget, it's a character.
Okay. All right. I can live with that. I can definitely live with that. So I did something completely different. I said we were going to do Christmas gifts because it's the holiday season.
I forgot we were going to do that.
So I can give you mine, and then I can give you a fast food thing, just because I'm a professional and I can do it on the fly.
Nice.
These are things I don't think you even know what they are. I know KFC mentioned them. I think he did the Christmas gift draft, and I don't know if he drafted them or they were like honorable mention. There was a thing called moon boots. Do you know what moon boots are?
Are they the big boots where it's almost like not springs, but it's like you step in them? I do
and
remember.
You could jump high with them, hypothetically speaking, because they had like a
hypothetically. Yeah, they did not work, did they?
They didn't really work, but they were the coolest fucking things when you got them, and you loved them. And you look back and you're like, I saw a picture of them actually the other day randomly, and I was like, oh man, I love that. And you know what? Like, compared to a lot of the stuff now, probably wouldn't fly, right? But man, we had some fucking fun with those back in the 2000s. It's kind of like X2. Like I like X2. I had fun watching it. It was great seeing it all. I also have to admit, like if I had to watch the Guardians or I had to watch a lot of other stuff, it trumps it. But man, we had some fun with those moon boots. We had some fun with X2. I'm almost like the X2 is such a wide cast, but I guess it's like the same cast from X1, so it's like it's cheating that way. But yeah, I'd say that, and I'd say if I had to do a fast food, I mean, you kind of got in my head with the Wendy's nuggets. It's like it's almost to me like the Taco Bell menu. If I'm just going like I'll go with like the what is it? Just a regular taco, just like a regular, just crunchy taco. It's like if I need something, if I got to get like out of the original 3 movies, and I need something that's going to be the best of the 3, I'm just going to go with the regular. It's like it's old reliable. That's kind of how
consistent.
Yeah. There's a million different options I go to on the Taco Bell menu, but I'm always up. To be honest with you, I'll get the Doritos Locos Taco if I can. Well, let's just say we're at a simpler time back when before the Doritos Taco was invented back in 2003.
2003, yeah.
This motherfucker kept the lights on in the Taco Bell restaurant. That's all I know.
That's right. So there you have it. That was X2. We've now done X-Men and X2. X3 will be next. I don't know if we'll do X3 next as the first show of next year. We'll probably have a lot of news to talk about, I would assume, over the next 2 weeks.
We have to figure out what's going on with Kang still and all that shit. Hopefully, I don't know.
We don't know what's going on with Kang. We don't know what's going on with the DCEU because the DCEU is officially ended. Aquaman 2 is out. So there you go. I can't believe it's out. I didn't hear much about it, but I liked the first one. The second one apparently not great. And I read that Aquaman gets his mouth peed in 3 times in the movie.
What?
That's what I read about it. So it'll be an interesting watch, I'm sure. I hope everyone has a good Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating. Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, New Year's, all of that stuff. We will be back the week after New Year. So either Thursday the 4th or Friday the 5th. I'll keep everyone updated on social media. Clem, thanks for another great year in the basement.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all happy holidays to everyone. To all, good night.